Hey pups, RB here, and welcome back to another new episode of Art Speaks. For this drawing, it's an illustration to the song Carousel with my panda persona Pingling. And something I wanted to say first, I'm not the quote-unquote biggest fan of the song. It's an okay song. Any comments saying, "You're not a real fan if you don't like the song Carousel," are going to be ignored and possibly deleted. Anyone who has their comment deleted and will continue to comment with any insult or whatever will again be ignored and or marked as harassment and deleted. Because technically it kinda is harassment. In my opinion, that is. And for those new here, this is an art challenge-esque of Melanie Martinez's album Crybaby as celebration of Melanie's new album/film K-12. I'm very excited for it, mostly for the songs, and if she does upload the movie to her channel, I will be a very happy fangirl. Now for the drawing. I had to look at so many references about cutesy, kawaii, childish carousel horses, and I had to at least try and get this one perfect, and hopefully I did. I also couldn't think of a good background for the rest of the drawing, so I decided to just randomly add in a heart-shaped cotton candies as an homage to the lyric, "Why did you steal my cotton candy heart?" in the song. That being said, on to today's topic of this Art Speaks video. And if you have yet to read the title, it's about relationship advice. I've only been in maybe 1 or 2 relationships, currently 3 at the time I'm scripting, recording, and or filming this. So some advice I give is probably not the best, but hopefully you guys can at least learn something from this video. Alright, let's dive right into the Shark Tank. One of the major things I want to stress is being in relationships. One of them being younger people getting boyfriends and girlfriends. And I don't mean kindergarten, preschool, or whatever, because little kids are weird and funny that way. I mean young teenagers and preteens. Now, my advice to the young teens watching this video, I would recommend you not get into relationships at the age you're at now. Why? Well, things can happen. Domestic abuse? I'll get to that later. Having early sex? Because hormones and puberty. And getting pregnant or STDs such as HIV, and, well, take the Birdie drama for example. I'm going to explain this as quickly as possible. Birdie was in multiple relationships, and she's maybe about 14 or 15 now, maybe 16. She would constantly threaten suicide to her partners, cheat on them, etc. At least that's what I've heard. Being in relationships as young as 11 or 12 is never a good idea. And at the age of 12, she said, quote, "Rape was hot," unquote. Yeah, definitely not the best moment in her life. Let's just say Birdie is a prime example that this is what happens when you get into relationships at a young age. Moving on to domestic abuse, which is definitely a controversial topic of relationships, and it's not the easiest thing to talk about. Now, I've had abusive things happen to me in the past from friends and relatives, but I want to focus on the boyfriend/girlfriend based relationships of abuse here. I actually want to put in a more recent news about domestic abuse in the media, reality-based media, involving Mama June and her boyfriend Gino, from the recent episode of Mama June from Not to Hot, as well as her past relationship with other men. Whether or not these stories are actually real is not up to debate. Even if they were fake, it's hard to fake stuff like this. We're gonna start off with her relationship with the sex offender that molested her daughter Chickadee. You'll remember this from 2014, and I heard about this back in my dance fitness class in my junior year of high school. TLC canceled Here Comes Honey Boo Boo because June was seen with said man. This led to her getting on Dr. Phil, and what I heard from the story, it was her taking Alana, her youngest daughter, mind you, to see this disgusting scum douche. The story that Chickadee told was that this man tried to freaking molest her, and she fought him off. He gave up, and Chickadee told June, and instead of taking her daughter's side, she took the side of the dick who sexually molested her daughter. Why a mother would put a man before her child is beyond me. It's painfully obvious and clear that Mama June is the world's worst mama already. Then the thing with Sugar Bear being angry and violent with her happened, and during the 2 other shows, couples boot camp and the beginning of Not to Hot, she dumped his ass and got with Gino. At first, Gino was a pretty nice guy, pretty decent. Then he was in jail for a time and was let out, and I don't know if it was his time in prison or what, but he changed and turned a complete 180. At first he was a stepdad who stepped up, but now he's hit an all-time low, with threatening to kill June and being a drug addict, and June also being in jail with drug possession charges. This is a strong example of how domestic abusive relationships are. Gino insults her, doesn't care or love her enough to be with her, allowed her to do drugs, and has also done drugs himself, threatens to kill her, and now this happens. June hit rock bottom, and the worst part of it is, I want everyone to brace themselves for what I'm about to say. During an intervention, while the show was rolling, Alana said she is living with her sister, Pumpkin, and she said it isn't her choice, and this poor child was bawling her eyes out. And you know what June said? Yes it is. And it didn't even faze her that her daughter, her youngest daughter, was scared to death to live in her home because of her and Gino. She had always said she'd never let a man come between her and her children. And what happened? Exactly that. This is what domestic abuse does. Be it physical, emotional, mental, whatever. Abusers will do whatever they can to come between someone and their loved ones. Family, friends, whatever. And in June's case, it's a cycle she chooses for herself. She constantly chooses bad men because of whatever is going on in her brain. Now, I'm no psychologist, but it might be a self-esteem issue. Needless to say, I don't wish the worst for this woman. I hope that this does give her an eye-opener about her relationship with these men, and I do hope that all of her children, Alana, Pumpkin, Jessica, and even Chickadee, can find some peace in knowing that their mother will hopefully change and see the light and find the right man. One who's caring, loving, and not like the previous douche canoes June has been in relationships with. Anyone in relationships similar to June's, or in any domestically abusive relationship, this can also happen vice versa with the woman abusing the man. And this can also happen in LGBT plus relationships too. Surprise, surprise, LGBT plus relationships aren't as positive as people believe them to be. And if you're in a relationship that's abusive with your boyfriend or girlfriend, it's not your fault. Call for help. I know you're probably scared to death that they'll stalk you, hunt you down, and hurt you or your loved ones in some way, shape, or form, but calling someone about it is not the easiest thing to do, but it's the best way to do it. And if you have a friend in a domestically abusive relationship, try and help them, even if they refuse. If you have to, call the police or a domestic abuse hotline. I'll have one in the description below. Again, it's not easy, but the life of someone you care about, as well as their safety and health, is more important than anything in the world. And now some relationship advice of my own. When it comes to breakups, for the most part, when my ex Ellie and I broke up, I definitely went through the stages of that. Sadness, anger, self-hatred, etc. And during that time, for the past few months, whenever I looked through some of my friends' older tweets on Twitter, and when I would look at Ellie's, I immediately cried wishing we'd be together again, and that I'd do something to make that happen. But here's the thing. If I tried to repair the relationship we had, we'd both be unhappy. Ellie would be unhappy because he'd be with someone he sees as a friend or a sister, and not someone he sees as a future wife. And I'd be unhappy because I wouldn't feel like he loved me the same way he did when we were together. And most importantly, his current girlfriend would be unhappy because she'd be alone and feel like she'd either be replaced or be unloved by someone who she deeply loved. Moving on from it wasn't an easy thing for me to do, but it was the best thing for the happiness of everyone. In my mind, there were two paths I had to take. Choosing the path to take my boyfriend back, no matter what the cost, or the path to move on and find someone who loved me as much as Ellie did. Obviously, I chose the second path. Again, wasn't easy, but it was possible. And now I'm with my loving Zori, and my advice to you, and the lesson here is, just because you love someone so much, and you two have broken up, trying to take them back is never going to go well. Unless the partner isn't as nice to them as you were, choosing to move on and find someone else who loves you just as much or even as much as your ex did is always the best path to go. Just be careful who you pick as your true love. I hope you pups enjoyed this video, and if so, be sure to like, comment, and subscribe to join the Pupper Pack today. Special thanks and huge shout out to my Patreon for their support. If you want to support me and this channel and get specialized rewards, be sure to become a patron on my Patreon, which is linked down below, along with my PayPal if you'd like a commission. And if you want your fan art featured, be sure to follow and tag me on any and all my social links in the description below. As always, I'll see you in the next one, pups. Stay awesome, stay strong, and stay beautiful.